Hey everyone, it's AJ from Pixelize, and today I'm going to show you how to build a Splide Slider, something like this, that you could add to your project. I think this is quite engaging, whether you have e-commerce, a bigger site with additional post types like real estates, maybe products you're selling, or courses, or maybe team members. It doesn't matter, you could add this to your project, and it's very engaging. Even the blog posts, like news, you have articles. So this is all custom built. So I'm going to walk you through the code. I'm not going to show you how to actually build it from scratch. I'm going to walk you through the structure and explain it to you exactly how the logic works and how you could build this. So then you could make adjustments and make changes. Obviously this is pretty cool. So let's jump into it. So first things first, if we look at structure, a simple doc type, right? So I got a void running because I'm using modules from Splide. As you can see on app.js, there are page builders that come with Splide or Swiper, like Bricks Builder, right? So you don't have to obviously use the npm package. You just need to change the settings around. Make sure you grab the right parent on this. But let's jump into the structure of HTML first. So every HTML, let me just close this up and lower this down. So every HTML in the Splide Slider will have a structure which starts with sort of the main container, like section, and then you have a Splide track, which would be the dots, or even you got the line, or whatever you want to call it, the scroll bar. Then you have a slider itself, but it's called Splide List, and you have to use those classes, as you can tell this from the structure over here. So let's go into structure. You see structure, so it gives you the structure, which is the root, track, list, and slide. So this is the root, then you got the track, then you got the slide there, which is like the nested parent to nest elements, and then you got the individual slides. So imagine this is a div and these are individual divs, but obviously this is more semantic. So you got another list and then list inside, right? And the track will obviously keep a track of how many items in there, right? Now if we go, oh, there's my VS Code. But if you notice, we have additional content inside the slide, right? Now this is where you could customize the CSS. You could target them by Splide track, but if you want to add additional class, you have to use a property to add the class, which in documentation you can see, because if you add a class here, it doesn't really work as well for some reason. But we have our own content inside the slider. So we got this blur background. Well, background blur is here, but we got this wrapper that wraps the content. We got the image, we got the blur, and then we got the content, right? So if you look at the CSS, let me just go up. I didn't want to use Sass because they might be a bit pointless if people are not familiar with Sass. So default reset, set the font size to 65.5%, set the font over here, the body, and then we target this, the section, the main, which we could add our own ID instead of going by Splide. Because if you have multiple Splide sliders, then you need to be able to know which one is which, right? So putting an ID makes a big difference. So you got big hero, Splide arrow, right? Then you got Splide arrow SVG as well. So I made this a little bit bigger for those arrows. Typically they come quite low. And this whole CSS here is self-explanatory. You just tag it in your own classes and add an empty pseudo element to overlay for the overlay, right? So this is for the images, because the images were a little bit too bright, so I'm going to show you. Let me just get my keyboard working. Let me refresh this. They're a little bit too bright. Yeah, you see they're a bit too bright. So because I'm recording it works slowly. Without the recording, it actually works a lot faster. And I didn't like this a little bit too bright. So what I did is just added a little bit of a RGB, background color. The image set to cover and with auto, because we don't want to stretch them as 100%. We want to have this sort of tile example. So the images, as you can see, became a little bit darker because the background color is back on. It will take the width that originally has, so some's going to be bigger than the other, so it's important to choose the right images or set them to be the same correct size. We have a big hero as well, the blur on the side, so it's a 50% width because we want to take a 50% out of it. Yeah, and it's all self-explanatory. Now when it comes to these animations of the blur, let me just get this, because again, it's in a dev environment. You could see this. This is custom animation, right? So we have a keyframes, slide right, so that will be for the blur. Width full, that's for the heading. And a what is a fade text? That's for the content text to fade in. We could put a delay if you want, but it's up to you. And as I said, the media width to lower down the H2, so it's responsive. And then we're gonna jump into the Splide to explain a little bit. As you can see, changes. Still is quite responsive. Obviously you can make changes to them. I just, to be honest, didn't want to spend too much time on that, because this is more important part. You could customize this yourself, like the code's going to be available on my GitHub anyway. You can make changes. So if you go into app.js, we have to import the Splide. You could use CDN if you want, so then you don't have to import it. But like I mentioned, there's certain page builders that come with Splide, certain CMSs already have this. So if you work on a dev environment and you're using VS Code, then obviously you need to have an npm to install this. If the page builder comes with it, then you don't need to. You just need to initialize a new Splide, add a DOM content load for them as well. So you can see we got new Splide. Now this typically will have a .splide, but it's about targeting the parent of the slider, right? So the section would be the main parent. If we have here, let's say my slider, then you would put here my slider, right? And the ID is probably the best way to target this because it's unique. Classes could be multiple with the same ID, you can only have one. Now the label is what you want to name it. The type is whether you want to have a loop or slide or fade in. With fade doesn't work, with slide it's okay, but you cannot go back to the first or to the last because it's a loop, So let me just put a charger on my laptop because my laptop is running out of battery, and if I don't plug it in, which I should have done earlier, it will die my laptop, basically. Hold on a sec. Okay, now auto width. We want to set the images to be auto width, and the arrows we could even switch them on and off. So I'm gonna quickly show you. Let me just put this on the side, put this on the side. So these arrows we could get rid of if you don't want them. Save. Now we no longer have the arrows. So you will have to use the scroll. Now if you want to use your mouse scroll, you have to set this to true as well. It might be annoying because you won't be able to get out, but for certain project might be good, because for example you only have one page and you just sort of scrolling around, right? You see, which is pretty cool. But I reckon this would be good for sort of one page, when you have one section and you click on the link and it takes you to a specific even project or information, right? Because if you put this on the home page where you got more content, you won't be able to get out. You'll be scrolling across this. So let's set this to false. And all these settings, right, are in Splide. So you go options, structures, arrow paginations, autoplay, auto width, right? Tutorials as well, extensions. You could make them for Vue or React as well, components. But if you want to have a look about, like, have it here on, so you go to events and you got these all events mounted, ready, click, move, moved. So I got it on moved. So once it's moved, it should detect the next slider, right? So we have it here, we grab all the slides that we have in the section, we loop them through every single one of them, and we select the one with the class BH magic, so behind magic, right? Which we call the magic wrapper. I don't know why I called this, but I did. I put the comment save as well, so select inside the slider, so that will be the current slider. Now if magic wrapper is true, if the slide is active, add the animate class. So we go into class list that contains is active, so whatever slide like this one will have a set active, and I'm going to show in a second. If that contains active class, then we want to add the animate to the BH magic. Otherwise we want to remove animate from that path, from that div. You see, it's always set on the first one, but dynamically we'll add and remove them once the interaction comes, right? Because obviously when the page loads, we want to see this animation happening. So let me just quickly make this bigger, and I'm going to show you. Inspect, li. So we got it's active here and has a BH animate, right? So if I actually add arrows, it's going to be better. Let me just add arrows to true. Wait for that to refresh. It's all because it's on a dev environment and I'm recording it. So let's go section, Splide, I know the list. Okay, so currently this is not the active one. Where is it? So we got active. If I go across this, you'll see that is active is going to change to the next one, and the animate class will be added to the next one as well. You see? So this code over here, it detects, it loops over every single slide, so them, and grabs the BH magic. If a slide contains is active, then add animate to this part. If it doesn't, remove it, which is self-explanatory. As you can see, it's active, it's active. So it's very simple and easy to understand that. So hopefully you like this. This is on my GitHub, so go GitHub. I'm going to include this in the description and in the comments section as well. So again, you could either download this as a zip or clone this. Make sure if you're gonna clone this and download this, use npm to install the packages that it needs. So Vite for the dev environment, because Webpack is no longer being used. Basically, Vite is the best way to do it. And as well, you have to install Splide, so that should install it for you because of the package log JSON. So yeah, hopefully you like this and you could implement this into your own projects. So I will see you on the next one.